Hi, I'm Elle, and today it's time to finally say goodbye to the one and only John Kuckian. A lot has happened with John during his time on YouTube. As always, I'm going to leave some links in the description for you guys to look at, because there's a whole lot of old tea to go over and remember. But at one point, John was one of the drama community top dogs. One of the problems with drama and the beauty community is that sometimes, a lot of the time, conspiracy theories take over because a conspiracy theory is always more interesting than what usually ends up being a pretty boring truth. Back in March 2017, Here for the Tea was sucked into one of those conspiracy theories. Jaclyn Hill drank a lot of Fiji water. Jaclyn had also joked a lot about having a sponsorship code for Fiji water. In fairness to Here for the Tea, there were a lot of undisclosed sponsorships at the time. There still are, let's be honest. And she investigated the idea that Jaclyn was secretly sponsored by Fiji. Here for the Tea, making a massive mistake, decided to share all of the information that she thought that she'd found about Jaclyn in Fiji with one of her best friends at the time, John Kuckian. And then John decided to release a terrible video as quickly as possible to steal Here for the Tea's ideas and receipts to plagiarise from her. Naturally, Here for the Tea was furious, and that destroyed their friendship. On the bright side for Here for the Tea though, because John put that video out there, she managed to escape the embarrassment of a months-long investigation being a waste of time, and it was John that ended up being the laughingstock. Unfortunately for John, the fact that he had decided to backstab one of his best friends meant that Here for the Tea was later energised to help bring the entire community together against John when he made disgusting false accusations of paedophilia against Peter Mon. But John's desperation for views, his selfish need to get a story out first to feel important, and the fact that he was happy to throw a friend under the bus to try and feel superior, that was the beginning of the end. Considering Kuckian Cosmetics was created on the 27th of February 2017, it's a strange kind of irony that when John was out there creating a business to push him to greater heights, that very same business has become the timeline for his utter destruction on YouTube. In my last video talking about John, I went through his list for what he claimed to want in 2019, and I'll link that below too. But on the 28th of December 2018, John decided to release this statement on Facebook. Can I just take a moment to say a massive thank you to every single person that has supported me on my journey, not only in 2018, but over the last few years of life. Years ago, I remember being sat in my room learning all about cosmetic formulations in my spare time, building up ingredients catalogues and colour stories. I never thought that years later, after the hardest work of my life, I would have my own line which has been inundated with love and support from my community. I really love you all, and it's true I would never have been able to follow my curiosity and passion to create like this without your support. I have taken on many projects throughout my life and completed them beautifully, but the cosmetics for me is really something much more special. Out of every art piece I've ever created, these lipsticks and pigments are making people feel the exact same way I felt when I created them. They are little bundles of joy, passion, love, beautifully precise engineered handcrafted lipstick tubes, a divine formula to die for, and the biggest deal for me is they make you feel special, important and beautiful. That's always how I wanted to feel when I was growing up, and as I found myself, it became so important to help others feel comfortable in themselves and find their way, in this foggy treasure hunt with no map we call life. Every single aspect, from the packaging to the tube to the website, formulation and shades, were all crafted by myself, and I managed to keep the vision pure throughout the entire journey with no external support. Even the fact I managed to come this far and smash everyone's expectations despite the mass amount of pressure put on me to fail every step of the way, I receive messages about that every day saying, if you can survive that and still live your best life, I can do anything. It warms my heart because it's true, we are all on this journey through life together whether we like it or not. Whether we decide to love or hate those around us is our decision, but I truly believe in the law of attraction, and it's completely changed my videos in the last year. I have learnt more about myself in the last 2 years than I've learnt in my entire life, and I simply cannot express how grateful I am that I have the most fantastic and beautiful people with me every step of the way. You. 3 years ago, my biggest ambition was to help just a few people online, anyone I could. Now, together with my queens, we are at over 72 million video views in 2.5 years. Laughter, smiles, tea, pepper, titties flying away. I cannot be more proud of the community we have built together and the laughter and happiness we have shared with one another. Every year I only want to make a bigger and more positive impact than the last, and with your help I want to continue to do that through 2019. We are going to smash this year together. Thank you, my loves. That paints a very pretty picture, but it's just not true. For example, we already know that his Heaven's Kitchen lollipop moulds were a failure. You can easily find the exact same designs on Amazon and AliExpress. So much for being unique. What's funny to me is that the last time John uploaded a video, he decided to talk about the Jeffree Star and Morphe Brushes collab and talked about private labelling.
But regarding the brushes, everyone feels like Morphe's been making brushes for long enough to make custom and unique designs. Even myself with my pigments, which were not a massive crazy product, had a custom applicator in terms of the size, the dimensions, the printing, the types of foam. So obviously there's a slight more investment and more time taken to do things like that. But people think we should do that as a brand. Like, unless you are literally one of those private label tiny cosmetic businesses that just sells cheap makeup from China, which a lot of smaller brands do. Like a lot of indie startup brands, that's how they begin their brands. They'll just buy cheap things, slap the name on it. That's what private label is. It's like you buy something without a label, the factory makes it generic, and you can buy very small quantities because they couldn't afford to meet the order quantities. For example, my lipstick tube is obviously custom. It has like 16 different effects all across it. That's dramatic, but it has silk screens, spray prints, everything. Along with that, I obviously also have steel added to the lid, which is then injection molded. My minimum order quantity is 20,000 lipstick tubes. Usually for that mold it's 10,000, but with all of my extra things like the steel insert, my minimum order quantity is 20,000. Most indie brands cannot afford to make 20,000 units of something.
John apparently couldn't help but humble brag about his brand. His liquid lipstick containers were just so unique that he had to order so many more than other similar brands would have to, and most brands couldn't afford that. Unlike John, who could, apparently. He subtly sneered about private labelling, despite a lot of people investigating and claiming that John's own cosmetics are privately labelled. Even there, John tried to paint a picture of himself as a successful businessman that's passionate and knowledgeable about his own makeup brand. His problem, and the point of this video, is that the truth is that Kuckian Cosmetics is dead, and John knew that when he posted that video on the 2nd of February this year. I genuinely believe that he has known that everything on him for YouTube was over for months now. To make this 100% clear, in the UK, the law demands that businesses are transparent so that anyone can find out information about them. One of the things that businesses have to do is file what's known as a confirmation statement once a year. I'll let the government explain it.
Every year, you need to make sure that the details we have for your company are correct. Once you've checked them, you have to let us know. And you do this by sending us a confirmation statement. We'll remind you when it's due. If you've forgotten what details we have for your company, it's very easy to find them. Click on Find Company Information on our website and enter your company name or number. If any information is out of date, you must update your records either when you file the statement or beforehand for some changes. For example, changes to some things such as shares in the company or its business activities can be made at the same time. But other changes, like telling us about a new director or a new address, have to be made before you confirm your records are up to date. If nothing's changed, you still need to confirm this by sending us the statement, even if your company hasn't traded or is dormant. We need this information from you by law, and it's a criminal offence not to provide it on time. Companies and their officers who don't file on time may be prosecuted, and the company may also be struck off the register. The quickest, easiest and cheapest way to do it is to file it online. Just register for our service and take advantage of the benefits of filing online with us. For more information, visit www.gov.uk/companieshouse.
The confirmation statement for Kuckian Cosmetics was due by the 12th of March and still nothing. Just to make this even more clear, the government states every company must file a confirmation statement. It confirms the information we hold about your company is up to date. A statement must be filed at least once a year, but you may choose to file more often. It's a criminal offence not to file your statement within 14 days of the end of the review period. If you don't file, your company and its offices may be prosecuted. Your company may also be struck off the register. John knows that he has to file that. He already filed a confirmation statement in 2018. Ignoring it isn't going to make the problem go away. But John hasn't just ignored the confirmation statement. Like I said in my last video about John, Kuckian Cosmetics accounts were due on the 27th of November 2018 and he still hasn't filed them. That means that John is currently 4 months late in filing his accounts, and there are penalties there too. According to the government, you'll have to pay penalties if you don't file your accounts with Companies House by the deadline. Up to 1 month is a penalty of £150. Between 1 and 3 months is a fine of £375. Between 3 and 6 months late is £750. And more than 6 months late is £1,500. You can be fined and your company struck off the register if you don't send Companies House your accounts or confirmation statement. So right at this moment, John's facing a £750 late filing fee. This isn't just ordinary tea. This isn't about questions of whether Kuckian Cosmetics is just private labelled garbage or not. This is genuinely law-breaking territory. But whether this sounds strange or not, it makes sense to me. John has been exceptionally quiet on social media. There hasn't been a video from him since the 2nd of February, and the last post on Kuckian Cosmetics Instagram was about a giveaway. On the 13th of February, John posted, V-Day giveaway. For 24 hours only, Kuckian is giving away our entire lipstick and pigment collection to one lucky winner. That's over $184 of makeup shipped anywhere in the world. See our collection at Kuckian.co. Further on in the post, someone then asked, "Is this contest still open?" With John responding, "Now closed, my love," announcing the winner on our next post. Only, there hasn't been another post on that Instagram account, and the latest post on John's personal Instagram mentioned being away on holiday. When you are happily existing as a fish, but then your titties start to fly away. Hashtag exposed, hashtag back soon, hashtag love you, hashtag miss you. Which was back on the 5th of March. So all that I can guess is that the supposed Instagram giveaway by Kuckian Cosmetics just hasn't happened. One thing from the Facebook post that John wrote that is true is that a lot of people have wanted him to fail. From the moment that he backstabbed Here for the Tea, to the ringtone scandal, to falsely accusing Peter Mon of something disgusting, to blackmailing Thomas Halbert, to abusing a couple in the US when he stayed with them, everyone, absolutely everyone with even a hint of human decency has wanted John to fail just for a hint of the karma that's owed. But I genuinely think that John has decided to do this on purpose. On the 29th of January this year, John was sent a first Gazette notice for compulsory strike-off. But what is that? A Gazette notice will declare that the company will be struck off Companies House and cease to legally exist. The strike-off notice will give you 3 months until the company is removed from the register as a result of failure to file company accounts or non-payment of tax. There are 2 ways a company can be struck off the register at Companies House, either voluntarily should the directors decide that they have no further use for the company, or alternatively, a third party could petition for its compulsory dissolution. In instances of compulsory strike-off, this process is typically initiated by Companies House due to non-filing of accounts or annual confirmation statement. The strike-off request will be published in the Gazette, at which point there is a 2-month period where anyone can object to the application or else the company will be struck off the register. As we know by now, the first Gazette notice would have been sent to John because he didn't file Kuckian Cosmetics company accounts. It's now been 2 months since that notice was sent, and Kuckian Cosmetics is going to be struck from the register. The thing about John is that he obsessively watches videos about himself, and in my last video I mentioned that his company accounts were overdue. But the thing is, like I've said before, this has always been a lose-lose situation for him. If John had filed his accounts, then we would be able to pick apart what had happened with his launch and his products. The accounts would be able to tell us what kind of profit he'd made, and I have a sneaking suspicion that John didn't make anywhere near the amount of money that he implied he'd made on Kuckian Cosmetics. That kind of embarrassment isn't something that I think John would want to deal with in public. Letting Kuckian Cosmetics die and being forced to pay a fine, or possibly a couple of fines, and handing over whatever assets the company has to the government quietly, away from the public eye, that seems like a better option for him. All that John would need to do is claim that he's too busy for Kuckian Cosmetics, or that he isn't interested in makeup anymore, or even just disappear from social media without a word, and then that's it. Nothing else can happen. And that is what I genuinely think that he's doing. John had so many public plans for 2019. He bragged and talked about how much he wanted to do, but that was part of the fantasy. Instead, he's gone on a quiet break, and I'll be genuinely surprised if he comes back. If he does, he'll have too many questions to answer about the death of Kuckian Cosmetics, and I don't think that he wants to deal with that kind of shame. For a long time now, a lot of people have wanted an explosion. Scandal after scandal came and went, starting from John's theft back when Kuckian Cosmetics was first created, and he seemed to float along. No matter who he hurt, he kept going, his stans obsessively supporting him. But this is it. This final, quiet humiliation is the final straw, a straw that's been on John's back for months now, which is exactly why I think this has been the plan for months. All those plans for 2019 put out there, all meaningless. In that Facebook post, John talked about the past 2 years of his life teaching him more about himself than he'd ever previously known. At the beginning of those 2 years, he destroyed a friendship for fame and views. Through those 2 years, he tried to destroy others for his own sick, personal gain. And every time, people have turned further and further against him. Now, at the end of these 2 years, the failure that people have wished on John has finally caught up with him. And that's exactly why the saga of John Kuckian has ended. But it hasn't ended with a bang. It's ended with a whimper. As always, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, or don't do any of those things because I'm not your mother. And, as we say in The Sims, dag dag.